Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever introduces the MCU Namor, or Namor. Actually, I really should say introduces the MCU to Namor, because without spoiling anything whatsoever about this movie's plot, knowing that this Submariner has been swimming underneath our feet, tickling them, is a pretty dramatic shift in the hierarchy of power of the MCU. And yes, I understand I look and sound a bit different. I'm back at New Rockstars HQ recording this video right now. I'll be back in the camera setup that you're more familiar with in the next video you see me on. Anyway, ahead of Wakanda Forever's release, Marvel Studios released the first episode of a podcast series hosted by author and Black Panther comics writer Ta-Nehisi Coates, in which he interviews Ryan Coogler about the devastating moment Coogler learned about Chadwick Boseman passing away, his decision whether or not to recast, and other thoughts heading into the sequel. It's an amazing podcast series. I highly recommend you check out this first episode. And while the first episode's out now, the remaining episodes will drop in the new year. And at the very end of this podcast, there was a quote from Marvel head Kevin Feige in episodes to come, presenting interesting questions about his bigger plan for Namor in the MCU.
You know, people who read the comics know that there's 80 years of stories with Namor that we can tap into. Where and when we'll keep to ourselves for now, but we think that this is an incredibly iconic character that's being introduced probably to most people, most moviegoers for the first time, and we very much expect them to want to see more.
Where and when? Feige is referring to the fact that Namor was one of the very first Marvel characters introduced back when the company was still called Timely Comics in 1939, alongside Golden Age heroes like the Human Torch. Namor is referred to as Marvel's first mutant because he was technically called a mutant and he predated the X-Men by like 20 years. Indeed, there is over 80 years of Marvel history to look at for Namor storylines, but we should be honest, not all 80 of those years were filled with amazing Namor storytelling that will make good movies, particularly since the MCU is fully reconceiving the character with a specific cultural background, even opting to rename his home from Atlantis to Talokan. He's not really Marvel's Aquaman. In fact, it would be more accurate to call Aquaman DC's Namor. But either way, there are only so many comic storylines Feige would be looking at when he's saying things like where and when. The MCU's Namor diverges from source material arguably more than any other MCU character. And Feige, I think, is hinting that throughout the history of the 616 MCU that we've been living in, Namor has been beneath it all. And he's ready to rise up as a new leader of the MCU's mutant opposition. I can recommend a few Namor comics arcs to dig into. For the immediate known future of the MCU, definitely check out Jonathan Hickman's run of the New Avengers from 2015, which leads into Time Runs Out, a prelude to Secret Wars. Marvel Studios is definitely pulling from this, paraphrasing pretty closely everything Reed Richards told us about Incursions and Multiverse of Madness, and the screenwriter Feige hired to write that dialogue is Michael Waldron, who also kind of introduced Kang into the MCU through his variant in Loki, and is writing the script for Avengers Secret Wars. Now, in this era of the comics, Namor is a member of the Illuminati and a bitter rival to Black Panther after Namor, who had previously been possessed by the Phoenix Force in the Avengers vs. X-Men storyline, flooded the nation of Wakanda. Now, Wakanda in the movie is flooded by Namor's forces, but the conflict behind it is something very different. Perhaps the most popular Namor title from the recent era is 2009's Submariner, The Depths. This is by Peter Mulligan and art by Asad Ribic. The artist Taika Waititi completely lifted the image of Thalagar from For Thor Love and Thunder. Submariner, The Depths depicts Namor as a third-person horror threat against human sea explorers, very similar to the way Namor is initially introduced in the Wakanda Forever film. There's also Namor King in Black from really the past couple years. It's a pretty great storyline that faces Namor off against a group called the Swift Tide, a story that explores Antarctica. I just wonder if that might have come out after Marvel Studios started to craft their vision for Namor's future in the movies. Truly, it seems like Marvel Studios is most interested in Namor's status as a mutant. And if the MCU is really embracing that whole genetic side of the character, that might really tell us about the where and when Feige's referring to. Specifically, the way Namor intersects with the history of mutants in the past decades of the 616 MCU and around the globe.
But this video is brought to you by The Ridge. The Ridge wallet is light and sleek and industrial. It's designed to fit in your front pocket, unlike those bulky old school wallets that make you look like you're smuggling an 80s car phone in your back pocket. Check it out. There are over 30 colors, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. It holds up to 12 cards and still has room for cash. Card and gold dollars. This is what they call the Black Damascus. Only the finest from my front pockets. Every Ridge wallet comes with a lifetime guarantee, and they'll let you test drive it for 45 days and send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. The wallets have over 40,000 5-star reviews. It's made with an RFID blocking technology that protects you from those digital pickpocketers. They also have other cool products like this commuter backpack. It's weatherproof and great for toting around a laptop. This month actually marks 9 years since the Ridge started, and they're celebrating with a special sale. So get 15% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to to ridge.com/newrockstars. That's ridge.com/newrockstars and use code NEWROCKSTARS. Find the link in the video's description.
Now, I am going to get asked about this, so I should go ahead and clear it up. Did the undersea earthquakes that Okoye mentioned in Avengers Endgame refer to any drama with Namor?
It was a mild subduction under the African plate.
Do we have a visual? How are we handling it?
It's an earthquake under the ocean. We handle it by not handling it.
Well, Ryan Coogler did an interview with Aaron Perrine from comicbook.com in Phase Zero. God bless Aaron for asking him this question.
Did they ask you about the part in Avengers Endgame where they talk about the earthquake under the water and the drama popping off under there?
I actually asked them. I was like, hey, what's going on there? And they were like, oh, just an earthquake. I got my own theories about what it was. I imagine it maybe had something to do with Chloe Zhao's film, Eternals, you know? Maybe that was what was going on. But, you know, as they told me, it was like, yeah, that was just an earthquake.
Now, Coogler's theory actually makes sense on this side of Eternals, now that we know shortly after the events of Endgame, there was an escalation of earthquakes that signaled the emergence of Tiamat. But to share my indulgent wish list with you, I want to see Namor team up with geographically diverse heroes and anti-heroes like Kenyan royalty, Aurora Monroe, Storm, a mutant who needs to be among the first batch of mutant titles on Marvel Studios calendar. Like, nothing against these Wonder Man and Covenant Chaos announcements, but can we just please just release a poster with ORORO and a Navy destroyer in the midst of capsizing? I mean, that would get like 1 billion new subscribers to Disney+. And I bring this up because there is an Age of X crossover event in which Storm and Namor technically get married, which really pisses off T'Challa, but their romance is so dangerous that both of these mutants agree to wipe their memories to erase the affair from their minds by the High Priest of the Panther cult of Wakanda. Alternatively, if we assume Namor must be near a body of water, the Florida Everglades are wet, and a Namor Man-Thing team up, doesn't that make sense? Especially if you consider the next time we see Namor might be in Avengers Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars, Namor, Man-Thing, maybe especially deadly duo in the swampy region of Battleworld. But really, at the end of the day, Namor is old, both in its comics history and in the history of the MCU. The history of Talokan predates the present era of superheroes in the MCU, and Namor, like the Eternals, witnessed the horrors of human history, evidenced by early trailer footage showing a Haitian plantation house. So among the mutants, technically, Namor is at the very least the elder of them, at least until Apocalypse is introduced. But you know what? You had your chance, Eternals. Given Namor's political position against humankind, seeing them as corrupt co-occupants of this planet Earth, I think Namor would be a solid choice to be Phase 5's father of the MCU's mutant brotherhood. Someone to at least keep Magneto's seat warm, or maybe head up a faction that Magneto can join forces with. Now that the debate over superhero privacy has re-entered the conversation, She-Hulk's Daredevil episode, the MCU is ready to try to force all these recently spawned enhanced individuals to register. Mutants do not want to do that. It's cruel to do that. Who do they think they're gonna round them up to make them register? Agents of the DODC? No, you're gonna need Sentinels for that. I truly believe that's where this is all headed, and I think leading the effort against that superhero registration, voicing the Magneto side of this argument, should be Namor, because he's already started that war. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Erik Voss. Follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching, bye.